Hello my friends. Today I'm here to discuss with you about the Beach Boys' 30th studio album, Wild Honey. I have behind me, I'm usually sitting on this stool behind me actually, but I thought that if some album deserves this sort of cozy let's sit on the floor type of a setting, it's going to have to be Wild Honey. I have over here 3 copies of this album on vinyl, and each of them, I'm not actually sure about this Milestones release, which is a weird one because it's backed with friends, but at least the 2 of them, the original one from '67 and the EMI, was it Simply Vinyl release, are both fake stereo releases, and the original mix should obviously be mono because that's how Brian mixed. Yeah, it's a shame because I would love to own the 2017 stereo, the true stereo mix of Wild Honey, which was released on this one, the Sunshine Tomorrow CD, and it was also released on vinyl the same year, but I didn't get it. It's a bit pretty hard to find. I really wish that there was another reissue of it, because this sounds freaking amazing. The remastering and the mixing, the whole thing on this set is fabulous. I think it's the best that Mark Linney and Alan Boyd and who else worked on this have done with the Beach Boys material. It sounds freaking amazing. If you have only heard the original, the old pressings or the fake stereo things, whatever, go and check this out. It's on streaming, and if you are able to find the CD or the vinyl, check it out. It sounds so amazing. But this is not gonna be a review of this. It's gonna be a review of the album itself, because that includes all kinds of other material as well. So this album is such an interesting and bold statement from the Beach Boys after the, well, you know, Smiley Smile, even though it did sell reasonably well, and obviously it included, Good Vibrations, #1 single, and Heroes and Villains as well, which did chart. So yeah, it was the lowest selling album that they had up to that point, and in that case, in that sense, it was a failure. But following that with this one is such a bold statement, because first of all, this was released just few months after Smiley Smile, and it was recorded in between. So '67 was a busy year for the Beach Boys. Brian worked the whole first part of the year with Smile material, then Smile got shelved and they did Smiley Smile, and right after that Brian was back at the helm and he wrote with Mike basically all of these songs. There's a few one cover song, and then there's a few group written song without Brian, but otherwise it's all Mike and Brian working together. First of all, this misconception, this story that Brian went recluse after Smile, is completely bogus. He was very much into Smiley Smile, Wild Honey, and then also Friends after this one in '68. So, you know, he didn't go anywhere. He was all over the place, and he was busy. He was super busy. So yeah, I mean, why is this album a bold statement and bold choice after Smiley Smile? Well, it is that because it follows the same structure, the same sort of vibe, same production style with Smiley Smile. It's very similar in track listing, sequencing, production, as I mentioned, with Smiley Smile. The only really big difference with Smiley Smile to Wild Honey is the fact that Smiley Smile was psychedelic music, and Wild Honey is borrowing a lot from soul and R&B music. So genre-wise, it's different, but the sounds, and as I mentioned, the production, sequencing, all that stuff is pretty much exactly the same as with Smile Smile. So it's a lo-fi album, only 23 minutes long. Each side is about 11 and a half minutes, and I think it's a perfect length. I really love these 20 to 30 minute albums. You can listen to them at any time, and I've been listening to this album now for the past few days back to back multiple times in my car, over here at home, while working, etc. And I love this album. It is such a great album, and the cover art is perfect. It's so I don't know, it's just so chill. I love it. It's very similar to Smiley Smile. I have to compare them here. They just belong together. I love it. They look so great, both of them. Back cover, beautiful, black and white. Cool font over there with the honeycomb look, and great photos of the guys over there. And it's funny how Dennis is without a shirt and the rest of them are only just with their faces, so that's cool. But even Bruce looks cool, so it's great. And I love this look of Mike. He looked so cool during the 66-67 period with his flat cap and his beard, and he was super cool around this time. And Brian is starting to grow a little beard, and so anyway, let's go straight into the songs. As I mentioned, the sequencing on this one is very similar to Smiley Smile. Smiley Smile starts off with Heroes and Villains, one of the two more greatly produced tracks of the album, the other one being Good Vibrations. And Wild Honey starts off with Wild Honey, which is the most produced song on the album. It has rich production, great vocals and lush vocals, harmonies. It's just a bombastic, great rocking tune, and I don't know. I think it's it's a perfect track. It's hard to say. Like, I love everything about it. It's just, I don't know. It's just so freaking great. I love all the live versions that I've heard of it. I love how Blondie used to sing it in the 70s and with Brian in the 2000s. It's a crazy rocking tune. One of the most rocking tracks that the Beach Boys ever did. I love the organ solo on the studio version. And it just is so freaking great. What else can you say about it? I really love it, and it should have been a huge hit. The title of the track, the lyrics, everything about it. Oh man, it's just so great. Then it's followed with Aren't You Glad, which is another perfect track. I love everything about it. I think it probably has Mike's best lead vocals. He sounds so smooth, soothing, and warm. His voice is completely different in this track than how he sounds in Fun or I Get Around. His tone is so different, and I think this is the best voice that Mike ever had. And it's a classic Brian Wilson and Mike love tune. They wrote it and they sung it together, and it's so great to hear Mike doing the verses and Brian doing the chorus in the traditional Beach Boys style, and the background vocals, harmonies, everything about it. It's so catchy, and the songwriting is amazing. It's so filled with great hooks, melody lines, so memorable, recognizable. Sounds like the Beach Boys, but in the same time completely different. And it's just a little bit over 2-minute song, and it's a perfect track. And once again, should have been a huge hit, but I don't think it even was. Probably wasn't even released as a single, so it's fairly unknown. But it's just as good as anything on Pet Sounds. And it's followed with a cover song of a Stevie Wonder tune, I Was Made to Love Her. And I know most people really enjoy this cover. I don't think it's bad at all, but I still think it's the weakest track on the album. it's the performance is great. There's really nothing wrong with it, but I just personally think that composition-wise, it's not that strong. I think the Beach Boys, especially Brian, but I just think they were stronger songwriters, and what this track is lacking is those melodic hooks and those progressions and variations within the little song. I Was Made to Love Her is pretty simple track, composition wise, so it's kind of sticks out there, I think, on this album. But it's not a bad track, just not one of my favorites. And it's followed with the fourth track, Country Air, which I think is phenomenal. It's a mood piece, and I think it's kind of interesting that the Beach Boys, for me personally, wrote some of the best. Well, this is not really like a northern song, but this album has the track Let the Wind Blow, which we'll talk a little bit more soon. But the Beach Boys wrote some of my all-time favorite Christmas and like winter and nature type of songs with themes in the lyrics that reflect on snowy landscapes or nature. Dennis was great with those tracks, and Country Air is one of these songs, which I think just it's ironic because the Beach Boys are mostly known of the California sound with the surfing and LA, Los Angeles and all that stuff. So it's funny, but somehow they just really nailed these type of songs. And Country Air sounds so pure and honest, and I love that about it. It's very simple in the lyrical sense, but it has a cool vibe with different sections going. Like I think it's a shame that Brian's work is a lot of times it's talked kind of in a way that after Smile he lost it and stuff like that, but Smiley Smile, Wild Honey, Friends, all these albums are filled with amazing songwriting that is filled with these like this Brian Wilson DNA, these little things, these songs that only Brian really could write that way. Country Air is filled with those little details, those Brian Wilson things. So he didn't lose it. It's just overlooked. And the side one ends then with A Thing or Two, which is it's a very Smiley Smile-esque track. It's crazy. It's I love the chorus. Do right, baby. Oh, I cannot sing. That goes so high, but outside, baby. It's just so great. It's a little track, funny. It would fit perfectly on Smiley Smile. Very similar to Getting Hungry, for example. But anyhow, I love that track. It's great. It's a great closer for side one. And side two is followed then with starts off with Darlin', and this is what I mean with the similar sequencing to Smiley Smile, because Smiley Smile side two opens up with Good Vibrations, and Darlin' is just like Good Vibrations or Smiley Smile. Darlin' is the second very well produced, like the sort of bigger production on Wild Honey. It has horns and stuff like that. It has a lot of instruments and the vocals are powerful, loud drums and stuff like that. So in that sense, they are very similar. I think my dog is coming to steal the show, but I hope he leaves me alone. He always gets confused when I sit on the floor. Okay, there he comes. Hello. Will you please let me do the review? But anyhow, Darling is a classic. Beautiful melody, amazing lead vocal performance by Carl. Really lovely vocals. Simple track. It's just a classic tune. I never get tired of it. And once again, I think it should have been a bigger hit. It was somewhat like a minor hit, but it should have been bigger. And I think it should be one of those songs that people would cover, make new covers, because, and I mean like these legacy artists throughout the decades. I wonder why in the 70s these sort of legacy artists didn't do more covers of it, because I think it really deserves that. It's a great song to sing and stuff like that. So I wonder why. But anyhow, let's move forward. It's followed by I'd Love Just Wants to See You, which is a great one of these sort of mundane Brian Wilson songs. This sort of genre that he continued all throughout the decades. Even on No Peer Pressure he has that a little bonus track, I'm Feeling Sad, I think is the title. But anyhow, I Love Just Wants to See You. It has a very different type of production than the Beach Boys tunes usually had, because it has acoustic guitar, mostly just acoustic guitar, and then Brian singing. I mean, there's no doubling in the vocals or anything like that. Not much of any production gimmicks. It's a very simple folksy tune. Sounds like a lot of the sort of indie music you hear these days by younger artists. And bold lyrics. I love that ending part with the I Love Just Wants to See You in the nude. It's great, and I love how Brian actually did perform this live on one of the more recent tours. What a lovely song. Really, really great. Somehow it's very, very chill. I love it. Then it's followed by Here Comes the Night, which the Beach Boys re-recorded on LA Light as a disco track, and I have a controversial opinion about this song, which I know I'm gonna get a lot of flack, but I'm still gonna say it. Well, I don't think it's one of the strongest songs on the album. I actually think it's the second weakest after I Was Made to Love Her. Not a bad track, once again, but just a little bit repetitive and not the most exciting melody, I guess. Lyrics are alright. Vocal performance by Brian here is alright. There's like nothing wrong with it, but it's just not that exciting. So and because I wasn't living in the 60s, I wasn't like I heard all the Beach Boys albums pretty much like back to back within a year. So my like perspective is very different to all the people who grew up with this stuff. So I have to say that I think I actually prefer the disco version over this one. So don't please kill me because of that. But I really dig the disco version. It's cool. I mean, the Car's lead vocals on that one are just so killer. And I don't mind disco music. I grew up with listening to 80s music and new wave and 90s Euro, like EDM, like Euro dance music, So I don't have anything against disco music. I actually like a lot of it. So, there you go. But we'll talk more about that one when we get to LA Light. So, I'm not saying that the disco version is is like super excellent or anything like that. I just don't think that the song itself is that strong, even at its bones, so there you go. But anyway, let's move forward. Let the Wind Blow, once again one of all-time classic Beach Boys tracks. I love it so much. It was so amazing hear Brian do that live a few years back. I think that was probably the moment I really got the song, because I always liked the song, but I guess I just always felt that it felt somehow so mundane and simple. But then hearing it live in that beautiful setting in a dark theater with beautiful curtains behind the band and moody lighting, and they added some little guitar licks and stuff, whatever, in that performance. It somehow just resonated with me differently, And these days when I listen to the original version, I love it so much. I think it's, once again, just as good as anything on Pet Sounds. And I love the lyrics, Mike's vocals, the whole thing, just perfection. With like Time to Get Alone, I love the way they dealt with these sort of wintry landscapes in their lyrics sometimes, around this time period especially. Really, really amazing song. And then we're almost at the end. Good Lord, How She Boogalooed to Me, which was the original title for the next track, How She Boogalooed to Me. I wish they'd I wish they had kept the original long title. I love this track. It's kind of interesting that this is the only original track on the album that Brian didn't have a hand in writing. Especially because it sounds very much like a Brian Wilson-esque rock track. And I remember, at least like some years back, this song wasn't really that well appreciated by the fans. I remember reading in a lot of reviews that actually like people kind of hated it. I don't know what people think these days, but I think the lyrics are cool. I think it's mostly acoustic guitar, but that whole strumming thing, how it's driven by that guitar, and that whole, it's so hard rocking. Carl's vocals are amazing, and this is the type of song that really would deserve a great hard rock cover, like with electric guitars and everything, rocking vocals, because it's a rocking track, it's a groovy track. Really love it. And then the album ends in the Smiley Smile style with Mama Says, this 1 minute long little a cappella track, basically, with the group harmonizing with actually like sections from the song Vegetables. So it's a smile track in a way. It's very interesting how it varies with the rhythm, tempo. Basically it just repeats the same little part of Vegetables, but and ends with an interesting poof thing, but they just sing perfectly, and it's cool to hear those little outtakes on the Sunshine Tomorrow CD of this session, how they are very precise on how it should sound, and doing a lot of takes. So it's even if it is some sort of a throwaway little snippet at the end, the Beach Boys always put their best in the material that they put out, and they didn't do it half-assed, like let's just put out something. They really put everything into it, and it's a great way to end the album. Great 23 minutes, amazing album. I love it, and I really wish that someday I would be able to find a really good mix, whether it's mono or the newer stereo mix. I don't really care, but I would just love to get because I have 3 copies of it already. I have not found a single decent mix of it on vinyl, so I want to get one on vinyl, please. So reissue it or something, do something, please. Beach Boys management, please get it out there and promote it properly. And if somebody from the management is watching this, please do a Wild Honey or like a lo-fi trilogy set. Beach Boys, whatever, call it like, you cannot call it Sunshine Tomorrow, that was a great title for it, but take some cool title like Wake the World or something, and do this sort of lo-fi set with Smiley Smile, Wild Honey and Friends, and have the session stuff, and the stuff that you had on the Wake the World. They used that one too already. Whatever, you name it. I'm just throwing out ideas here. Do this sort of set like with the Feel Flows or Sail on Sailor, similar thing, but include Smiley Smile Wild Honey and Friends with those great stereo mixes that Mark and Alan did around that time. I think Smiley Smile was done in 2012 or something like that, 13 maybe. But those sound so freaking great. They deserve to have this, phenomenal, well-promoted box set with them, because it's some of the best material that the Beach Boys ever did. And I feel that Friends kind of is the true ending of that progressive, hardworking, Brian Wilson, young Brian Wilson, Friends is the end of that era, not Smile or Pet Sounds as the history usually states it. He worked very hard up until Friends on 68, and after that he kind of started to go more reclusive and, he took like a, step backwards and let the other guys kind of just more, drive the band for the next almost 10 years or so, So anyway, that was it. That is all I have to say about Wild Honey, one of my favorite Beach Boys albums. What do you think about it? Write a comment, we'll continue over there. Thanks for all the new subscribers, and let's continue from here. Next album that I'm gonna review of the Beach Boys discography is going to be Friends. And yep, I love that album as well. A little what do you call it? Spoiler. So, thanks for watching. Take care. Bye bye.